Just Cheesy the Podcast, presented by Just Cheesy Productions.
Hi there, I'm your host, Fondue. In this week's episode, we talk about National Fun with Fondue Month.
Fondue.
We talk about cheese fondue.
Ooh.
We talk a little bit about fondue etiquette.
Oh.
We cover a recent undeclared bologna and cheese event.
What?
We talk about another cheese vending machine.
Whoa.
And of course, we tell a very cheesy joke.
Yeah, we do.
Stay tuned for Season 2, Episode 25 of Just Cheesy, the podcast. Fun with Fondue, Part 1. So I kind of lied in the last episode.
Uh-oh.
Not intentionally.
Okay.
At the end of the last episode, I said we'd be celebrating National Fun with Fondue Day.
Yeah.
But apparently it's National Fun with Fondue Month.
Wow.
Not to be confused with National Cheese Fondue Day,
Okay.
which took place on April 11th.
Ah.
If you recall, back in Season 1, Episode 21,
Yep.
we talked about the history of fondue,
Yeah.
the fondue mafia,
Yeah.
and the largest fondue set.
Oh, yeah.
We learned about the ancient Greeks, and we learned a little bit about a cookbook from 1699.
Yeah, we did.
In our next 3 episodes, we're going to cover all the types of fondue.
Ooh.
This week, we're covering cheese fondue,
Whoa.
but we're going to cover broth,
Ooh.
chocolate,
Yum.
oil, tomato,
What?
wine,
Oh.
because the term fondue has come to mean a communal pot with
Okay.
boiling or hot liquid where you dip other foods into it.
Okay.
So we're going to try to cover as many as we can find.
Ooh, I love it.
But first, on our fondue journey, we start with, as I said, cheese.
Ooh, my favorite.
And we have to go to Switzerland.
Okay.
The Swiss Cheese Union invented a phrase,
Oh, no.
and I'm just going to tell you the translation because I don't speak Swiss.
Obviously.
It goes, fondue is good and creates a good mood.
Yeah, it does.
And it's abbreviated as FIGUGEGL
Okay.
on a website called yummybazaar.com
Ooh.
in an article called What is Fondue? History, Types, and How to Make It.
Ooh.
They say the term fondue has been used for more than one dish, so they're similar in style, but not ingredients.
Oh.
The modern style of cheese fondue was created in Switzerland in the second half of the 19th century.
Ooh.
And they say while it might have been inspired by a peasant version, it was definitely a dish for the wealthy town dwellers.
Wow.
Gruyere cheese, especially the amount needed for fondue, wasn't very affordable.
Oh.
And even though many of these recipes are similar, there are dozens of regional varieties of Swiss-style fondue.
Oh.
The first up is fondue vaudoise.
Oh, boy.
And I have to apologize.
Yeah, you do.
My Swiss or
Yeah.
French
Yeah.
might be lacking.
Totally.
This one is made exclusively with Gruyere.
Ooh.
Fondue Neuchâteloise
Oh, man.
is made with Gruyere and Emmental.
Yum.
Next up, we have fondue Innerschweiss.
Oh, man.
And it's made by mixing Gruyere
Okay.
and Emmental
Ooh.
and Sabrins.
Oh, no.
Sprins?
No, it's Sprins.
Yeah, no, you're right. Sprins. The next one is fondue fribourgeoise, which is the only variety that doesn't use Gruyere,
Really?
cheese, or wine. Instead, it's made by melting
No.
Fribourg
Oh.
vacherin in a few tablespoons of water on low heat. And then we have fondue Appenzellerland, which also doesn't use Gruyere, but it swaps it for Appenzeller cheese. But apparently it still uses wine.
Okay.
According to tasteatlas.com, there's a few others. There's fondue Genevoise. I'm
Jeez.
so sorry.
It should be.
This one combines egg yolk, butter, cream, sugar, nutmeg, salt, pepper, and grated cheese, either Emmental or Gruyere.
Yum.
There's moti moti, which means half and half.
Okay.
This one has Gruyere, vacherin fribourgeois,
Oh, my.
garlic, white wine, potato starch, black pepper, and kirsch.
Yum.
Had to look that up. It's a type of brandy.
Sure.
The next few are French.
Oh, boy.
They have one called fondue Jurassienne. This one features Comté cheese.
Okay.
The next one is fondue Auvergnat.
Ooh.
Then we have fondue Savoyard.
Oh, boy.
It's the most common, It uses Comté also.
Okay.
But this one typically mixes about 3 or 4 different cheese varieties.
Okay.
And why stop the pronunciation brutalization with just France and Switzerland?
Oh, no.
Let's go to Italy next.
Why?
We've got fonduta alla valdostana.
Stop.
This one includes fontina, eggs, milk, flour, and white pepper.
Yum.
The article also mentions fonduta alla Piemontese.
Holy cow.
But they say there isn't much difference between that and the Valdostana.
Oh, okay.
Switzerland, France, and Italy. At this rate, will never be a sponsor. But if they
Nope.
were, their ad would go right here. Let's talk Swiss fondue etiquette.
Okay.
According to expatica.com, in an article called Swiss Fondue, A Guide to the Alpine Classic,
Ooh.
we get some instructions on how to eat fondue correctly.
Okay.
First, we talk a little bit about the traditional accompaniments.
Ooh.
Bread, boiled potatoes,
Ooh.
charcuterie,
Yum.
cornichons, or other pickles are usually served.
Nice.
Veggies, fruit, and boiled eggs are not traditionally used in Swiss fondue.
What?
Typically, a fondue fork is used.
Right.
You spear the bread with the crust side out,
Ooh.
and you typically take it off of the fork with your teeth, not allowing your mouth to touch it. They say
Really?
you can use a knife and fork to pull the bread onto your plate if you want to be cautious because there's no double dipping.
Oh, yeah.
Let me repeat.
Yep.
No double dipping.
Yay.
I think that goes for a lot of foods,
Yeah, it
but
does.
definitely not in fondue.
Yeah.
And as we learned back in season 1, episode 21,
I remember.
if you drop your bread into the fondue part, if you're a guy, you buy a round of drinks, and if you're a gal,
Oh, yeah.
you have to kiss the guests around the table.
Ooh.
So be careful with your bread.
Yeah.
When you stir with your bread, you're supposed to use a clockwise figure-8 motion to keep the cheese mixed properly.
Okay.
You do not dip your bread in the pot while someone else is already swirling or dipping.
Understandable.
And when you pull your bread out of the cheese, you twirl it at least 3 times to allow all the excess to fall back in the pot.
Okay.
You're not supposed to tap or scrape the bread on the side of the pot.
Okay.
Temperature is a big deal.
Sure.
It should be kept warm enough to keep it smooth, but not so hot that it burns.
Makes sense.
They say that only dry, acidic white wine, kirsch, or warm herbal tea should be consumed as they aid in digestion.
Ooh.
And it's very important to know that the appropriate dessert to fondue should not be chocolate fondue.
What? Why?
The Swiss believe you should not have too much of a good thing, and they do not
Ooh.
suggest having chocolate fondue directly after cheese fondue.
Aw.
They would customarily eat things like acidic fruits.
Okay.
It's time for my favorite segment.
This week in cheese.
According to the website cbp.gov, the Customs and Border Patrol officers have seized huge amounts of undeclared bologna and cheese.
Oh.
Apparently, on October 27th, 484 pounds of bologna and 285 pounds of cheese were seized at the border.
Holy cow.
They found 44 rolls of Mexican bologna hidden in the vehicle's toolbox and under a blanket on the floor of the truck.
Whoa.
They say that pork products have the potential to introduce foreign animal diseases that
Ew.
can be detrimental to the agriculture industry.
Oh.
The 285-pound cheese seizure was made in a
Whoa.
separate incident, and this one found the cheese under a blanket
Okay.
in a vehicle.
Sure.
Both of these incidents would actually get a $1,000 civil penalty.
Whoa.
And in another story, there's a vending machine in
Really?
British Columbia that sells artisan cheese.
Nice.
According to VancouverIsland.ctvnews.ca, the Cowichan Station Creamery in Duncan just started offering products in a vending machine.
Awesome.
And this wouldn't be our first rodeo with the vending machines. Back in season 2, episode 6, we talked about them as well.
Yeah.
There are a lot of them in Switzerland, but there was also one in upstate New York at East Hill Creamery.
That's right.
We visited that one just a few weeks back,
Yeah.
and you can see it on our Instagram.
Yeah.
But this one in Duncan, BC claims to be the first in the province and maybe even in the entire country of Canada.
Whoa.
Their vending machine can sell over 250 products at any time.
Holy cow.
And they typically range in size from 150 to 450 grams
Okay.
and are priced between $7 to $15.
I'm ready for a joke fondue.
What did bread say to melted cheese?
No idea.
I'm fondue you.
Oh.
I'm fondue you. Haha, get it? I'm fond of you.
Yeah.
I'm fondue you.
It was so bad.
I'm sorry. I had to give it a try. I know it was a little bit cheesy. Thanks for listening to Just Cheesy the Podcast, Season 2, Episode 25.
Thank you.
Join us next week for Fun with Fondue Week Part 2.
Stay cheesy, everybody.